What's up, Endurifiers? This is Mario, and I'm back with another episode of Endurify. And so this weekend, I actually went back home to Madison, Wisconsin, which is where I'm from, to celebrate Ellie's birthday, her first birthday, with my family. And we had an awesome time, with just like, spending time with my mom, my dad, my brother, a couple of my friends, and just kind of sharing this special moment of Ellie turning 1 with my family. Just meant so much to me. We had another cake smash. We had tons of balloons, all sorts of gifts, a new sandbox, and a new water table, new outfits, new books, all of the good things. And so I'm just feeling super grateful for that whole experience and just really happy to have spent that time with my family. But as I'm thinking about what is something that I could podcast about today, I actually got a question from a friend that I wanted to share that question and share my answers to that. So Emily had a friend who had a baby shower this weekend, and so we took Ellie over there to the baby shower for about an hour, and it was somebody who was there who found out that I do triathlons and that I've done Ironman events and that I do some coaching, and they asked me like, hey, I'm getting into open water swimming, but like, how do you get over the fear of open water swimming? That was the first question. And then the second question is just like, how can I get better at it? Because, I find myself like getting in there and panicking and worrying, and then I don't swim straight. And so like, how do you help with that? And so this is actually a big question that a lot of people ask as they get into triathlons and as they get into open water swimming. And so my answer is I want to share kind of my answer with that. And basically what I said is, first of all, like, that's super common. And I have been swimming and doing open water swimming for like 8 years, and I still feel a little uncomfortable whenever I jump into open water, because it's just not a natural thing for a lot of us to be swimming in this big open body of water where you can't see the bottom and you don't know, if are there fish, are there these other things that are there, and sometimes you feel seaweed that's kind of tickling your feet, and you just assume the worst case scenario. But I said that, that's super common. But there's a couple of things that always make me feel a little bit more comfortable in the open water, and so that's what I want to go through next. So the first thing that I told her was, I always, when I do open water swimming, I always have a kayaker next to me. And that just makes me feel way more comfortable. And she's like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. That would be great. So I always try and have a kayaker next to me. If it's Emily or Emily's mom, shout out to Mo's kayaking service. And they're just there just to make sure that, boats can see you. They're there to make sure that you're swimming straight. They're there in case you get tired and you need to hold on to the kayak. So I would say that's the number one thing, is never go alone, and don't do an open water swim by yourself. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I use a Safer Swimmer personal swim buoy, or a flotational device. So if you just look on Amazon, or if you Google it, Safer Swimmer kind of personal buoy, it'll pop right up. And basically it's just a little clip that you wear around your waist that has a little inflatable and a little buoy that is kind of attached behind you. And it's kind of like your cape or your tail. And it's this bright pink color, it's this bright orange color, and that is basically to signal to boats and other people that are in the water that if they can't see you because you're kind of submerged and you're swimming, then they know that there's an open water swimmer there. So that's another thing that just having that makes me feel way more comfortable, and it's something that I recommend to everybody who's doing open water swimming. Now, the third thing is kind of like dealing with that fear, and dealing with like how you kind of start to maybe panic a little bit when you get into open water. And so what I recommend there is, when you jump into the water at first, don't start swimming right away. Just jump into the water, kind of get adjusted to the temperature, take 5 to 10 breaths, and just calm down and just lower your heart rate, because a lot of people jump in and they feel like they instantly need to start swimming. And you jump in, you're uncomfortable, you start swimming, your heart rate goes up, and that's when people get into trouble. And that's why people have sometimes panic attacks in the very beginning of the swim, because you jump in, because you're nervous, you jump in, there's all this commotion around you, you start swimming, and it can be really uncomfortable. So that's one thing that I definitely recommend, is just jump in and just get adjusted. Don't start swimming until you're comfortable. And so adjust to the temperature, catch your breath, focus on your breath for a little bit. And then once you're ready, what you want to do next is you want to pick a target that's off in the distance. So if you're open water swimming in a lake, a lot of times I'll signal to the kayaker and I'll say, hey, I'm going to go swim to that house, or I'm going to go swim to that tree, or I'm going to go swim to that rock. Pick something off in the distance that you can point to, and that can be your guide. And then you want to make sure your kayaker knows that as well, so they kind of know the general direction to be swimming. And then the key thing that happens next is you want to sight. And this is where every 4 to 8 or 10 strokes, you want to just pop your head up slightly just above the water as you're using your strokes and kind of reaching out to just see that target that you have in the distance, and just make sure that you're heading in the general direction, because a lot of people are zigzagging back and forth, and that's where it's just a lot of wasted distance, a lot of wasted energy, and it's something that you want to avoid. And then the other thing that I recommended to her is, just if you're just getting started with open water swimming, this is something that I do. My first open water swim is typically pretty short. It's anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, just to kind of get comfortable with open water swimming. And a lot of people maybe feel like if they're doing an open water swim, maybe you're preparing for a half Ironman or a full Ironman, you feel like it's got to be 1.2 miles or 2 miles in open water. That doesn't need to be the case. The most important thing is just to get in there, get comfortable, and get yourself adjusted to it. And so start with 10 minutes, start with 15 minutes, and then after a while you can start to increase from there. Go 20 minutes, 25, 30, 35, until you're kind of at that distance that you want and a distance that you're comfortable with. So those are just kind of my 6 tips for open water swimming, and just to conquer kind of that fear and that panic that comes in of open water swimming. And so again, that question was like, how do I conquer that fear, and how do I get more comfortable with open water swimming, and just like, what do I do once I'm in there? So just to kind of recap my answers to that, first, always make sure that you have a kayaker there, or somebody who is next to you. They can be on a paddleboard, they can be in a kayak, just somebody who's next to you to keep you safe and be that kind of backup plan in case something goes wrong when you're in open water. Next, make sure that you have the safer swimmer. The swim buoy, the personal swim buoy is super important. Pick your color, bright pink, bright orange, and go for it. The next is just when you're jumping in, don't get started swimming right away. Just jump in, get adjusted, and then once you feel comfortable, then you can start swimming. After that, you want to pick your target. Is it a house? Is it a tree? Is it a landmark? Make sure that your kayaker knows that. Next, your sighting. Every 4, every 6, every 8, every 10. Pick a cadence, practice your sighting, and get a little bit more experience with that. And then finally, as you're doing this first or your next open water swim, start small. Start with 10 minutes, start with 15 minutes, and increase from there once you feel confident. So this is a very common question that a lot of people have when it comes to open water swimming, and I hope that this helps. So that is what I have for today. I hope that served you, and I hope you all have an amazing day.